is Chef's Connection. I'm at Tertulia with Chef Seamus Mullen. So exciting to be here with you. Fresh off Food Network's Chopped and The Next Iron Chef. Great shows. What was it like being on those shows?
Well, it's always challenging. I mean, being on The Next Iron Chef was probably one of the hardest things I've ever done before. Every day you get something new coming at you. You have no idea what's going to happen. You're cooking with different ingredients every day. We even didn't know where we were going to be the next day. One day we finished a challenge and we were told we were getting on a plane the next day and we were in Japan. So it's crazy. And that stress level is definitely very similar to what it's like being in a restaurant. You don't know what's going to happen at dinner service. You've got a sense, but it's a very different kind of cooking in that it's sort of more like a competitive sport. Chopped for me is a lot more fun because in Chopped I get to sit on the other side of the table.
You get to judge.
Which is a lot less stress. Yeah, I can imagine. But it's not without its difficulties. I mean, you have to eat some pretty unusual things, and not all of it's good.
On that note, there are some crazy things that judges on Chopped have to eat. What is like the craziest thing you've had to eat?
Oh man, I've had some really nutty things, but I think one of the weirdest breakfasts I ever had to have, because we start filming very early in the morning, was sea urchin with madeleines, watermelon syrup, and I think maybe bone marrow or something like that.
Ew!
It was not exactly what you want to start your day with. And
that's not a nice latte to wake up.
No, it's not at all. And it's also, the quality ranges very much from one chef to the next because it's such a hard challenge. I mean, it literally is as hard as it seems on TV, if not harder.
So, I mean, have you ever been pushed into something like that where you have random ingredients and you have to create something delicious to try to impress someone?
Well, I mean, certainly on The Next Iron Chef and on Iron Chef, I've had to deal with that. But, that's part of being a chef, too. We go to the farmer's market and see what's there, and immediately you got to think on your feet, this is a great vegetable. What am I going to do with it? I've never used cardoons before. What am I going to do with cardoons? Or my fish purveyor calls me up and says, I have these extraordinary whelks, or I have these amazing sea snails, and you got to think, what are you going to do with them? What can you do with them? How can you make some money off of it? So it's not that different. I mean, the difference between something like Chopped and the real life challenges is that you actually are choosing ingredients on your own, and they're ingredients that make sense together.
So when you go to a farmer's market and you're looking for ingredients, are you looking for something that's different so that when you have, someone comes here, they have something different entrees?
Absolutely. People come into the restaurant for a number of reasons, but we are one of the better Spanish restaurants in the city, and a lot of people don't know that much about Spanish food, so they're coming to kind of explore and learn about Spanish food and learn about new products, and it's great to be able to show them things that I fell in love with and that I learned to cook when I was living in Spain that you may not necessarily see here in New York. One of my favorite things to cook with, which we get periodically from a source in northern Spain, they're called percebes. They're gooseneck barnacles. So these little guys about this big, about an inch long. They're a delicacy in Spain. They taste kind of like crab, but they're a barnacle, and nobody has them in New York. So when we have them on the menu, we tweet about it, and people all know about it, and they come in and they have them. And it's great to see people try something like that for the first time, because it really opens them up to something completely different and new.
So if you want a great delicacy that's straight from Spain, you've got to come here to Tertulia. That is a tongue twister for me. Tertulia. That's a lot easier to say than Tertulia.
Yeah, it's easier to say in Spanish.
Tertulia.
It was meant to be said in Spanish, not in English.
But then you bring it here in America, and us Americans, we just make everything Spanglish.
Do the best we can.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the show that you were on, The Next Iron Chef, you developed a flare-up from your arthritis. Is that right?
Yep. I've been living with rheumatoid arthritis for a number of years, and it's something it's an autoimmune disease. A lot of people get it confused with osteoarthritis. RA, rheumatoid arthritis, is a systemic inflammatory disease. So the immune system has a little bit of a glitch and ends up attacking your joints and causing systemic inflammation.
And a lot of pain.
A lot of pain. Very, very painful. And it certainly is something that is affected by stress. As you can imagine, being on a show like The Next Iron Chef is tremendously stressful. So throughout the filming of that show, I was dealing with a lot of flare-ups, and it got to the point at the very end. I made it to the very end. We were in Japan, and I had a really bad flare-up in the final episode, and kind of took me down. So it was very challenging. But it's something that I've gotten to a point through diet and exercise and supplements where I've gotten to a point where I'm actually doing very well. I'm very healthy, and the disease is not really affecting me negatively. So, to me, it's a blessing and a curse. It's a curse because it's something that I've had to deal with and it's a lot of pain, but it's a blessing because it's really allowed me to get a lot stronger and to, kind of have this mindset that if I can beat this, I can beat anything.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it took you from the show, unfortunately. You're top 3, and then you're taken from the show. But now you have this amazing book out that I think a lot of people are really inspired by, especially people who are suffering from RA, because, it's tough, even, just the diet and exercise and trying to find healthy, yummy meals. But fear not, there's a great book out by yours truly, and it has really wonderful recipes in it. So thanks for writing that for us.
I mean, I think one of the great things about when it comes to living with any sort of disease, shouldn't say this is a great thing, but one of the things that we can all do when we're living with disease or any kind of illness is we can take care of ourselves. There's lots of things that we can do to take care of ourselves, and it doesn't have to be at the expense of pleasure and enjoyment. I really firmly believe that healthy food is at the foundation of wellness, and healthy food should also be really delicious. It should be very, very enjoyable to eat. It should be pleasurable. And if you make the right choices about the provenance of your ingredients and how they're handled, you'd be amazed at how delicious and healthy the food that you eat can be.
I mean, absolutely phenomenal. And then you're living proof that you can take any sort of struggle and turn it around to something good.
That's the idea.
That's amazing. Now, big adventures coming your way. Brand new restaurant. Tell us a little bit about it.
So we just opened a few weeks ago El Colmado, which means the grocer. And it's a tapas bar in the Gotham West Market in Hell's Kitchen, sort of Midtown West. And it's a very traditional tapas bar where you have a long bar with lots of food on display, bartenders and chefs behind the bar, and a whole kitchen behind the bar. And it's really fun. You get to see what look at little dishes, see some seafood, and get it cooked right there for you and handed over by the cooks to you. So it's very interactive.
So that you get to watch your food being prepared.
Everything get be prepared. There's a nice little kitchen right behind the bar, and it's, very fun place to eat, lots of delicious, great little snacks, and it's very, very traditional.
That's amazing. So you're bringing some more of your authentic Spanish recipes and bringing it to another little spot in New York.
That's the idea. We wanted to come to an area in the city that was really, really very underserved. There's a lot of people that work there, a lot of people that live there, but not a whole lot of restaurants yet. And we're part of what is called the Gotham West Market. So there's 6 other small restaurants within the market. Where you can get little bites, everything from coffee to ramen to burgers, all sorts of great stuff. And it's a really fun kind of new version of a food collective. It's taking the notion of a what do we call it? What do they call them? Not a food hall, a food court, and doing it in a way that's very stylish with excellent food.
Hey, that sounds pretty fabulous. I might sneak on over there later. Have a little tapa or two.
There you go. Exactly.
Awesome. Now, any other crazy great adventure? The holidays are coming up. Anything fun planned for you?
Well, crazy adventures. I do have one thing that's kind of nuts. Next fall, so it's a ways off, in October, I'm doing this absolutely nutso mountain bike race in Costa Rica. It's considered to be one of the most difficult adventure races in the world.
You're taking hold of this rheumatoid arthritis, and you're like, wing it away.
The whole thing was, listen, if I could battle this, I really need to, I can do anything, and I need to give myself a really intense goal to get to. So I'm training for that, and it's a 3-day mountain bike race, all off-road, and it starts on the Pacific coast of Costa Rica, goes to the Atlantic coast, and covers 3 mountain ranges and 29,000 feet of vertical climbing. That's like riding from sea level to the top of Mount Everest and back down.
Oh my goodness.
Road. So it's going to be pretty gnarly.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
We're going to have to come back and see how you did.
I do, exactly, yeah. My goal is to finish. That's all.
That's a good goal.
Yeah. I'm not doing this to compete against anyone except myself.
That's awesome. And the views you're going to see, I mean, it's going to be beautiful.
It's amazing. I've done a lot of cycling in Costa Rica, and it's a really beautiful place to ride a bike. And you go from everything from, you start, it's about 100 degrees, and at the end of the first day, it's like 55 degrees, and you're way up in the mountains. So you go through a whole bunch of different ecosystems and climates, and of course, incredible scenery and jungle, seascape, everything. It's amazing.
That's going to have to be your food to keep you going, because what do you carry, a backpack with food and some clothes?
There are going to be feed stations throughout, so you'll have your fuel that you have set up, your feed that you have set up, and you'll stop and eat it on the bike. You don't stop and get off the bike.
Because then you're going to, I mean, whatever distance you made, you can see people, I would be like eating and...
Yeah, the problem is there's a time limitation, so if you don't make the cutoff, then you get disqualified from the race. So you can't like the first stage you have to do in under 8 hours, the second stage in under 7 hours, and the third stage in under 8 hours again. So it's like, it's pretty serious.
That is tough. I mean, they're really rough on you.
Yeah, well, it's not meant to be an easy race.
I guess. Well, we wish you luck for that. That's awesome. And you're training now?
Yep, yeah, I've been training now for a couple of months, and as we get into January, I'll start doing more what we call base training, which is a lot of long miles on the bicycle. So doing 80, 90-mile rides once or twice a week.
Oh my goodness. You're giving me inspiration here. I feel kind of lazy right now.
Yeah, well, I after 10 years of not feeling so good, I've being able to turn my health around, I really decided it's time to kick myself in the butt.
That's awesome. I mean, truly, that's very inspirational that you did this and that you're going forward. You're giving people like me a lot of inspiration to.
Well, for anyone, but particularly for people that are living with arthritis, it's really important to me that they understand that they don't have to suffer. There's no need to live in absolute misery. There are things that we can all do to feel better and to take control of our own health. And once we do that, a foundation of wellness is so important. And I do believe that diet and exercise are a huge component of that.
Absolutely. I mean, we hear it all the time, but we never really do it, unfortunately.
It's hard to know exactly what to do, and I think that's certainly what the case for me for many, many years. I knew that I should be doing things to take care of myself, but I didn't know exactly what it was that I should be doing. And it was also hard to see, I should be eating more greens and I should be eating more fish, but then to not be able to see the actual results. And it wasn't until I really focused and said, I'm going to make a really, really disciplined plan and follow it. And I did, and that's when I really started to see incredible results.
So people who are suffering with this RA, could they find this kind of advice and guidance through your book?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in my book. You can also check out my blog, which is chefontwowheels.tumblr.com. And there's a lot of information about my training there and things that are working for me, the things that don't work. So stuff that you can check out there and apply to your own life.
All right, well, we'll definitely send people that way. On a positive note, we have some little kiddos who are fans of you. They have a couple questions for you.
Okay.
And one is, on Chopped, what are some of the craziest injuries that you've ever seen?
Ooh, man, I've seen some bad ones. I've seen everything from a hand in the blender to fingers,
Oh my gosh.
fingers on a cheese grater. I mean,
Oh.
The most common thing is to cut yourself with a knife. You're rushing really fast. You're trying to do a lot of things at once, and cutting yourself, down to the bone. I've seen that happen quite a bit. And I've even had a few episodes where the food that we were given had blood on the plate, and we weren't able to eat it because somebody had cut themselves, which was really.
You're like, I'm not gonna eat this.
Yeah, it was a bummer. In one case, we had a woman who was a really talented chef, and she did a great job, and her dish looked delicious, but there was blood on the plate, and none of us could eat it, and it's because she had cut her finger really badly, and she didn't realize that she had blood on the plate, and none of the judges could safely eat it, so we couldn't judge her food, and we had to disqualify her.
Oh, that is definitely really, really unfortunate. That's terrible. How about any recipes that either on the show or here in your own kitchen, like crazy disaster recipes that either turned out terrible or turned out actually pretty spectacular?
Let's see. Ooh, this is a question that I might have to think about. There's a lot of things. There's little subtle things that I've learned over the years that work really well together that you wouldn't expect, like basil and apples. They work really well together. Or using things like rosemary and thyme in pastries and dessert preparations. Something that I never thought would work well together, but we discovered and works beautifully together, is taking fresh strawberries in the spring and just charring them a little bit, and then serving them with raw seafood, whether it's like a raw scallop or with some raw sea urchin. Goes beautifully together.
That does sound kind of good. A little sweet with almost like a little salty.
Salty and a little bit of acidity. It's really nice.
Well, awesome. These are some great tidbits from you as far as the rheumatoid arthritis, and the new restaurant is so exciting for everybody here in New York. Thank you so much for chatting with the Chef's Connection.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. And we're coming back. We want to see how you do on this race. We're holding him to it.
Okay.
We're going to be rooting you on the sidelines from New York.
You can come root on from the sidelines from Costa Rica if you want.
But we'd have to run to.
Run, yeah, but then you could give me food and
Yeah, we could sneak you some extra
Exactly.
like vitamin waters, keep you fueled.
Sounds good. All right.
We'll do that. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.